Alright, and welcome to Graphing Linear Functions, Level 3. Now in example 1 it says graph the function 3x plus 2y equals 8, and you'll notice that we have kind of a problem here. This is actually in the form of ax plus by is equal to c. And what do we call this? Well, first we call this our standard, call this the standard form of an equation. But we want to actually transform this into y equals mx plus b. We want to transform this into our slope-intercept form. And what I want you to notice is this is the most key thing, is that right here we see that the y is by itself. And there's really no simpler way to say it. Whenever we see something in standard form, where both the x and the y are on the same side, all we want to do is isolate the y and get the letter y by itself. Okay, well, if I see a 2y, that means that the first thing I have to get rid of is everything else. So my first question is, how can I get rid of 3x? Well, the opposite of positive 3x is minus 3x. What I do to the left, I'll do to the right, and I now have this. This creates my 0 pair, and I have 2y is equal to negative 3x plus 8. Be careful that you don't combine these, because these right here are not like terms. Okay, so what is 8 minus 3x? Well, you could have written 8 minus 3x or negative 3x plus 8. It doesn't really matter. Now from here, we know that when two things are side by side, they're being multiplied. So we want to divide the left side by 2. Well, what does it make sense to do here on the right? To divide the entire right side by 2 or each term individually? Well, I would prefer y'all divide each term individually. This allows us to reduce a whole lot easier. 2 divided by 2 becomes 1y equals negative 3 over 2 does not reduce, plus an 8 divided by 2 is 4. And now you'll notice here we have a very easy equation. We say, okay, well, you know what? In front of the x, we have our m value, negative 3 over 2, and our constant, our b value, is equal to positive 4. So I go to draw my xy axis, and let's see. When my y-intercept is positive 4, I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, and put my very first point. And then when I have a slope of negative 3 over 2, remember I put that negative with the top, and I count down 1, 2, 3, to the right, 2, and there's my next point. And again, for my third point, I can count down 1, 2, 3, to the right, 2, and fill in all my tick marks. And notice that when I draw my line, it goes through all the points and is a straight line. All right, we're going to go ahead and look at one more example. So go ahead and finish taking the notes, pause the video, and when you're done with that, let's move on to example number 2. Okay, for example 2, we want to graph the function negative 5x minus 3y equals negative 15. Well, I'm going to give you all two rules to do this. Rule number 1, we want to move our x term first. And 2, then we want to divide everything by the, I'm going to abbreviate here, coefficient in front of y, or in front of y. I could have just said the coefficient of y, but just remember the coefficient is the number in front of y. Okay, so let's tackle step number 1. I move my x term. How do I move a negative 5x? Well, plus 5x. What I do to the left, I do to the right, plus 5x. And this grants me my 0 pair. Now from here, I drop my negative 3y is equal to, and ask yourself, can these two terms combine? Well, of course they can't. But this time, I'm going to write it as I would read it. What is negative 15 plus 5x? Well, that's negative 15 plus 5x. And from here, I go to step number 2, and I say, okay, well, in front of the y, I have a negative 3, or multiplying by the y, I have a negative 3. What's the opposite of multiplication? Division. And we're going to divide each term by the coefficient of y. And so we get this. y equals, because that reduces to 1, negative 15 divided by negative 3 is positive 5, and a positive divided by negative is a negative 5 over 3x. And from here, we can go and say, well, you know what? Our m, our slope, the coefficient in front of x, is negative 5 over 3, and our b term, the constant, is positive 5. Now, here's what I want you to do. I want you to pause the video, and I want you to try and graph this equation first before you see me do it, and then figure out if you did it right. Okay, our constant is positive 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put my very first point. And my slope is negative 5/3. I'm going to count down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'll go to the right. 1, 2, 3. And by the way, let's graph our next point. Count down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 1, 2, 3. When I draw this, we actually have another key feature here. So not only is there such a thing as the y-intercept, well, guess what? There's also such a thing as the x-intercept. And I want y'all to make one more note about that. We have the x-intercept when our y value is actually equal to 0. So this is just kind of a higher level thing that we'll talk about later on in Algebra 2. All right, thank y'all so much, and I'll catch y'all in our Level 4 video.